Hello, I'm Marc, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and this is a special series during this COVID crisis where we'll be sharing the learnings, best practices, and failures and successes of all the channel leaders throughout the tech industry. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Thanks for coming on the show, Keith. Obviously, one of the things that I've been finding out from everyone at the moment is basically how have you coped during the COVID-19 crisis? Has it affected you sort of drastically, or has it been extra busy for you?
Both. So yes, it's affected us, and it will affect it will affect the global economy and every business in it. So we're no different to anyone else. But are we busy? Absolutely. As a business, we're an infrastructure specialist reseller and have a lot of cloud services and are a cloud enablement business. So we've got a lot of clients where we've provided remote working solutions in the past and have an awful lot on our cloud, and we use our own services as well. So all of our back office staff are all on virtual desktop anyway. So from an impact perspective, working at home, no real different. I mean, they have full access to everything. That they don't own laptops from a back office staff perspective. So going in the office or working at home really made no difference. The biggest impact we found really is a slowdown of projects. Slowdown of our client projects. That's the big impact. And I think from an executive team perspective, that was our challenge. We saw that coming. We knew that was going to hit us. As soon as Italy locked down and Spain locked down, it was only a matter of time before the UK locked down, and the impact that has to the economy and to projects is projects don't disappear, but what they have done is they've slowed down, and the impact that has to a business is cash flow. And that's the biggest thing, as a business owner you worry about, is to make sure that you've got the cash flow to keep the business ticking along. And in normal circumstances, those projects keep rolling in, and that's where your cash flow comes from. In the current climate with COVID-19, I identified very early, and I think most business owners did, that there's going to be a 3 to 6 month impact here. And yes, we're planning for it. We felt it, and we will continue to feel that, I think.
Have you seen sort of your customer behaviour change in the next sort of last 3 or 4 weeks? You mentioned about those projects being put back. Are you anticipating more customer changes and their behaviour changes over the coming weeks?
That's a really interesting question, because the customers we're speaking to, they're all still kind of upbeat from a business perspective. The projects are not disappearing. Budget is being frozen, not pulled. I think that's a very, very different place to be in. If you go back to the financial crash of 7, I think it was. 2007, 2008, budgets were disappearing. There was no budgets to do project. That's not happening now. What's happening now is budgets are being frozen. On one side of the coin, you could say, oh, well, that's only an interim. On the other side, our clients are actually saying, no, they still believe that these projects will continue. They're being delayed whilst the global impact is being assessed. And I think it's one of those things that most businesses, and whether they be the client side or the reseller side, they can deal with pretty much anything. What's really challenging is uncertainty.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm echoing that thought. Every time I speak to a channel partner, they seem to have had record marches, really, really good marches, and then suddenly there's been a bit of a tail off in April. So it's been interesting. Have you seen any sort of supply chain issues from getting stock or getting stock from distribution? How have you found that?
Yeah, I think there's a general. So we had very similar things as we moved into lockdown. The first week or two, we still had massive orders to fill from people getting nervous. So we signed a client for 1,500 users on our VDI platform 2 weeks before lockdown. Now that has a massive impact on infrastructure. So we needed another 35, 40 servers to put into our cloud. So there was this big rush for solutions that we were providing to our clients. A lot of our clients phoned us up and said, look, I know I've got 100 users on the platform. Can I get 200 users on the platform? And we're like, yeah, of course, no problem. Yeah. And then we go back to the platform and we're like, okay, we need another 15, 20 servers. And so the supply chain, we did bombard them just before lockdown. And yes, it has impacted it, but not to the point where I'm concerned. I think it's this slower delay. 24-hour delivery turns into 7-day delivery.
Yeah.
7-day delivery turns into 2-week delivery. It's just pushing things out a little bit, but most of our clients are pretty understanding of the situation. Everybody is demanding, but also realistic. And, it's a bit of a cliche, but everybody knows that this is out of our control. We're doing the absolute best to service our clients and our customers, and everybody appreciates that. And the delays are just something we have to live with. And I've been massively surprised by just the acceptance that we're working as hard as we possibly can, and our clients get that, and we're not getting the normal "where's my services," etc., etc. Like in normal business, we get that, phone going every 2 minutes, but actually people are being a little bit more understanding and say, yes, I need this service as soon as possible, but I know you are doing your best.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of, I don't know about you, but customers and clients and people in general, just everyone's a bit kinder at the moment. Now, I think they're just more understanding, actually thinking, yeah, everyone's trying to do their best. I think the channel's done an amazing job, trying to sort of fulfill the needs of their clients, from distribution and supply chain issues, and vendors having stock issues, and resellers having the demand of their clients and making people remote work. And I think they've done a brilliant channel collaborating together. One question I did want to ask, Keith, has your communication changed towards your customers? I saw a few sort of resellers putting out landing pages and webinars and rapid communications to their clients. Has your communication style changed to your clients, or is it business as usual?
I think difficult question to answer, because it's twofold. Communication on the topics we're talking about and the projects we're talking about, that's business as usual. We're still talking about the projects that are coming up this year, mergers and acquisitions of some of our clients and digital transformation projects. Those conversations are the same. Yeah. But the regularity of the conversations, and obviously medium, it's all video now, that's changed quite a bit, in the fact that it's really interesting that whereas we would normally put a phone call into a client, interestingly, we're scheduling WebExes and doing videos. So it's a flip, because we're actually getting really interesting traction with our clients, probably more so than we would when you normally. Yeah. It's a really interesting question. So the content of the conversations is the same. The medium has changed, the video, and the regularity and the interaction that we're getting has actually improved. It's a real phenomenal.
It's funny. Everyone prefers face-to-face meetings, number one, video number two, phone number three, and email number four. And yet we never did number two. I never did any video conferences at all. And I had the equipment. I had this platform on our website all the time. And yet I never got a customer on the platform. It was just like, we're on the meeting and we're going to email them or phone them, and that's it. Do you think now people will look at, travel and expenses? Budget's gone down. Obviously, no one's doing trains and hotels and expensive meals at the moment. And that's great, because that has gone down. Do you think people will start looking at thinking, oh, I've got that meeting in Liverpool, I've got that meeting in London, actually, I won't do Liverpool when I do that by video? Do you think people will start saying, actually, using this technology more? Because we have the technology available, but we never used it, or I certainly never used it. So do you think this will be the norm now, to sort of schedule face-to-face meetings if they're too far away, instead of actually going to travel and see them face-to-face?
Wow. Massive question, that is, because I personally feel, the whole way we do business in number of angles, and definitely meetings and communications, I think won't ever be the same after this lockdown. Because this is not a UK lockdown. This is a global lockdown, right? This is a world lockdown. So everybody is being forced. I was on a video conference on Thursday last week with a CIO in the US, and normally that would have been a phone call, or I'd have had to fly out to the US to see him. And actually, we had a fantastic, really productive hours video conference. I don't think the world's communications will ever be the same. I really, really don't. I think, working from home has been largely successful for people that have put the right infrastructure in place. I mean, we have clients that had the right infrastructure, and they haven't seen pain. We've had clients that cobbled together a remote desktop solution or cobbled together some sort of solution, thought they were okay, and actually when push comes to shove, the reality is sort of works, not really functional for extended periods of time.
Yeah, definitely.
So where we've had clients and customers that have really thought about their remote policy, really thought about how their communication channels can work, high quality video, high quality bandwidth for home workers, making sure virtual desktops are in place with all of the bells and whistles that they need to do their job. I think that will become the norm. I think when we come out of this, I think one of the things we're going to see is a massive uptake. You know, it's why we're still doing what we're doing from a business perspective, is that yes, there's a slowdown. Yes, there's this sort of, deceleration before acceleration. It's like we're coming to a corner and you're braking as you're coming into a corner, and we know we're going to accelerate coming out the corner. And one of those will be, disaster recovery solutions, remote working solutions. People are going to take it far more serious because the new norm is video conferencing. The new norm is, why travel? I can be just as productive like this. In fact, I can be more productive.
Yeah, you're saving the travel time, aren't you? Instead of going for that meeting for 2 hours in London and the travel fare up there, the train fare up there and coming back, you're thinking, actually, can I do 2 meetings, Zoom calls back to back, and it would be more effective? And yes, it's not perfect, but it's the next best thing, isn't it? It's certainly the next best thing. Do you think this will be the death of the external salesperson then? Do you think we'll see, people won't even be being external salespeople? They'll just be like video conferencing people.
I was reading an article the other day about will this accelerate the use of robots at work? I don't know about that. Maybe too far. But I do think it will impact all businesses. Communication, I don't think will ever be the same. I think we've been forced to use the technology that we knew was around. And when you look at, it was interesting you touched on a point around expenses and travel and expenses. So when we looked at our business and we made 20% of our staff furlough, we put them on furlough for 3 months. We chose to top up their salary, and so that they're not financially impacted by being furloughed in anyone in any sense. But what we have done is we've used the opportunity to look at the business. We've looked at the business. How much money are we spending on T&E? How much can the business transition into? Do we need the size of the office in London that we've got?
Yeah, everyone's looking at that, I think.
The 3 offices, Coventry, Milton Keynes and London, do we need them? We're starting to look at this as a catalyst to say, actually, do we need to be a little bit more slicker as a business? Can we streamline a little bit? So we're using the time whilst we're in this little bit of a slowdown to actually focus on the business and just sort of say, it's easy to sort of dismiss it when things are going really well, and then really we're having an opportunity where we know things are going to accelerate in the next 6 months. We know we're going to have massive demand. We're still hiring in the right areas for the right reasons. We are addressing our cash flow concerns for the next 6 to 12 months. So it's preparing ourselves for the next generation of business after the 3 months lockdown, or when the world starts getting back to normal again in maybe 6 months, 6 to 9 months, people are saying.
Yeah.
What does business look like then? And I think as a business owner, that's really important to me.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely bang on right. I'm speaking to a lot of owners of businesses now, and they're all telling me they're almost doing like a business health check on their own company. Do I need that office? Do I need that 40-man office if I've only got 40 staff or whatever it is? Or if I'm going to expand, can they actually remote work? Do I want to be paying car allowances?
Yeah.
Not really. Do I want to be paying petrol bills? Do I want to have travel and expenses? Do I want to be putting up in hotels? And of course, obviously, you want to give the candidates and your employees the tools to be able to do the job. But sometimes, and me as an owner of the business as well, I'm having meetings, seeing guys go to meetings, going up to London, 10 o'clock, coming back at 4 o'clock, and they've done one meeting. It's like, it doesn't seem so worthwhile now. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people will look at this and think, actually, it's not quite there, but it's the next best thing. And you can still get the interaction of the person. You can still get a vibe of what it's actually feeling like. And I think you're right. I've had some really good conversations over the video platform now, and I'm thinking, do you know what? we definitely will use it more as the norm now. This won't be suddenly, actually, we'll go back to hustling on the telephone and trying to get hold of people. Oh, can we get hold of Keith, and Keith, can you give me a call back, etc. Like, actually, let's book something in Keith's diary. So we know we've got his attention. We know it's going to be half hour or 35 minutes or 40 minutes. He knows that, I know that. And then we can move on and actually get on with the day. And I think a lot of people are going to be doing that. 100%.
I agree completely, yeah.
What's your view? And I know you're not the World Health Secretary, but what's your view on COVID? How when do you think we'll go back in the office, and how do you think the next sort of quarter will pan out?
So I think I've always so one of the things that we try and do is stay in contact with all of our staff through this period, because everyone's working from home, no one's in the office, and I've been doing regular Monday morning emails to the team and giving them sort of tips and updates from the executive team, updates how the business is doing, making sure everybody's have as much information available to them as we have as an exec team. And one of the things that I said very early on one of those emails was, in my view, in my personal opinion, we won't really see the UK's full removal of lockdown until the end of May. I think it will be staggered from mid-May to the end of May. I think really my view personally is that the end of May really is when I would expect to see things to sort of loosen up to a point where it's some form of normality. Yeah. And then I think June is going to be this transition period of kind of a surreal month, actually. June is going to be a weird one for me, because it will be that moment of, I don't think we just go back to normality. I think June is when we start realizing what the new normal looks like. And I think that's June and July are going to be two interesting months. Just really from an overarching perspective of the new business economy. What happens in June and July, I think, will be really interesting.
Has your sales behaviour of your sales team, in terms of trying to get new business, has that changed? How you're actually engaging with clients? Because there's almost two camps I'm seeing. It's almost like, one, always seeing it a bit distasteful if we're going out for new business, etc., which I don't tend to agree with. But two, people have adapted how they're actually approaching new business and trying to be a bit more sensitive. So has your new business sales team adapted their style to sort of trying to get off new business?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think salespeople won't. They know my view on salespeople, right? I'm not a salesman. They're a necessary evil in business. My sales director will laugh and then throw something at me, But that is generally my view. You do need salespeople. They're the heart of any successful business. And yes, they can be bolshy and they can be pushy and they can be, all of the things that make sort of interesting salespeople. But ultimately, most of the salespeople that we have in creative, we're quite lucky. They're generally nice people. They're good people. They are here to work and deliver solutions for our clients. So they're extremely empathetic with the current situation. They're not ramming solutions down our clients' throats. We purposely did not send out COVID-19, everybody needs to buy VDI. We didn't do that. I just think that's distasteful for a fact, for a start. And also, do you know what? It's just, that's not what our solution and our products that we sell, all of our products that we sell from an infrastructure perspective, they're there to address real business challenges. Yes, we're in a situation, it's no different than something else. Could have been an earthquake or a tsunami or, a natural disaster of some sort, or it could be a fire in the underground cables in London that's happened previously, the Holborn fire, where it takes businesses out of product. So it's, our salespeople are quite empathetic. So they're talking to clients and they're saying, we can help, and new opportunities coming down the line, we're here to help. But there is a taint around empathy that, new projects and new business is in a pause mode. It's not the sort of conversation that you want to be having right here, right now. You want to be available to have the conversation should our clients talk to us, and they want to be preparing for what happens in the future and those projects that may kick off in October, November time, but not really pushing it directly right now.
Yeah. And my last question, Keith, from a well-being point of view, it's been well documented over the last 18 months, about mental health and and obviously anxiety and all these sort of stuff that are happening in the workplace. And obviously that's been heightened now because of COVID-19. People are isolated and people are having their own challenges working from home, etc., etc. They haven't got that social aspect. How are you and your leadership team making sure the well-being of your staff are being careful when you can't even see them now?
Do you know, really interesting. Yesterday's email out to my staff was about mental health well-being, and it was really about making sure that you don't isolate yourself completely, that you do have video conferences with your family and friends and work colleagues, that you reach out and make sure that you communicate. You appreciate that it's okay if you want to take a day to really just reset your mind and just say, I literally can't do any work today because I'm really struggling. That's okay. The mental health and mental well-being of our staff is paramount. So I don't know if we can address all the challenges. We have programs. We have I think it's the EAP program, the Employee Assistance Program, part of our package that people can talk to. We encourage all of our managers and directors to reach out to their staff all the time. So I don't know if we can address it completely, but we're definitely doing as much as we can.
Great. Keith, thanks so much for your time. It's been really, really good.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.